Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to Public Forum. I remind all present that mobile phones must be switched off before the meeting, and the meeting is being recorded and live streamed. Please be aware we have a 5-minute time limit on speeches in the chamber. You will hear a bell ring at 4 minutes and then at another 5 minutes. If you could please wrap your speech up in that last minute, that would be great. I'll also remind speakers that councillors may ask a question, however you are under no obligation to answer, and speakers are not to ask any questions of councillors. I'll also remind speakers that they have a 1-minute time limit in reply to questions from council if any are asked. And lastly, please stick to the topic of your item in the agenda so that I don't have to bump you back on course. And first up, we have Paddy Moylan, Chair of Southern District's Cricket Zone, is speaking against the recommendation in item 9.1, Delivery Program, Resourcing Strategy, Finance Strategy, Operational Plan and Budget, including fees and charges. Fire away.
Just testing that's working. Feel like I'm about to read the news. Just to introduce myself, my name's Paddy. I'm the Chair of Southern District's Cricket Zone. I will, probably to the pleasure of many, stick to the issue of cricket. That's why I'm here, so I won't be freewheeling on other issues, although there are other issues that I could discuss, but in 5 minutes we're going to stick to cricket. There was another speaker who was going to speak, Sam Nasser, on some of the more procedural items. He's not appearing, so that can go over to another day. But from a Southern District's Cricket Zone point of view, we're one of the 8 zones of Cricket New South Wales. We run and manage high-level cricket for Cricket New South Wales, from basically Bargo down to Bega, over to the coast and out west. So it's a very large area. We're one of the only zones that doesn't have an indoor cricket facility and doesn't have significant turf cricket fields. Cricket New South Wales, to host a significant carnival, want 4 fields in a box with a central facility for the umpires, for the players to go and get changed and all of that sort of thing. We don't have that. We don't have anything close to it. I get calls all the time from Cricket New South Wales wanting to host carnivals here. Generally, I have to say no, apart from smaller carnivals, because we don't have the facilities, and we really lack facilities for women cricketers, which is probably the main growing area of cricket. But the Lackey Park development is more than just a cricket facility, it's a business opportunity. It's a business opportunity because, as I said in my submission, and Councillor Kent may know where this quote comes from, it's the fish that jumps on your hook. Because I have already had significant discussions with funding bodies about funding it. As the Mayor said in a video, Cricket New South Wales are keen to put up to $12 million towards this facility. People like me can go and get the money, but what I need and what cricket needs is the plan done, and the plan done in a way that Cricket New South Wales wants, so that they can host carnivals here. How am I going for time? 2.5 minutes, beauty. So just to illustrate the point, before Christmas every year we go to Dubbo for a cricket carnival. It's the under 13, 14, 15 youth championships. Dubbo Council pay Cricket New South Wales to host the carnivals because it brings in about $12 to $18 million into the economy. The local Airbnbs, the local motels, the local restaurants, right throughout. The cleaners get more shifts because they've got to go and clean all the motel rooms. And quite frankly, who wants to go? Sorry, this has been recorded. Dubbo is not necessarily the ideal location for a holiday in the week before Christmas, where it's 40 degrees in the morning. So cricket brings that money into the economy that otherwise wouldn't exist. So that's the opportunity that we have, that council has. There's rarely time that someone comes to this place and says, we've got this proposal and all we need you to do is approve it and then respectfully get out of the way and allow us to fund it and get it built. And then the ribbon can be cut and it's a success for everyone. But I want to be very clear, there's a suggestion that's been floating around that it could change to 3 grounds. We've got 3 grounds already spread out all over the place. it doesn't interest Cricket New South Wales to bring those high-level carnivals. They want 4 grounds together with that central facility. In the case of Lackey Park, the proposal is for an indoor cricket facility in that central part. We're the only zone without an indoor cricket centre in the coldest, wettest zone. I'll finish up by just saying I'm here to talk about cricket, but there were a lot of submissions made that I think carry a lot of weight from basketball, botanical gardens, and finally, I'm rushing, but the submission from Jay Taylor, if I could respectfully ask that staff potentially look at the way in which they respond to people. This gentleman asked for the Exeter cricket nets to be upgraded, which comes to me a lot as well, and he was basically told, in effect, bad luck, we think walking tracks are more important. Thank you very much, Mr Mayor. Thank you.
Thank you. I should. No, it's a me problem. Next up, we have Daniel Med of the Penrose Community Association is speaking for recommendation in item 9.1, delivery program, resourcing strategy, financing strategy, operational plan and budget including fees and charges. Over to you.
Good afternoon. I'm addressing agenda item 9.1, the operational plan. I'm representing the Penrose Community Association and therefore the Penrose community. Earlier this year, we submitted a proposal to the Council that the operational plan for 2025-26 include, via an LEP review, for infill housing opportunities in the Penrose Village Centre, specifically the consideration of R2 low-density rezoning. The key drivers for this are to create additional affordable housing and to bring more families into the Penrose Village, increase the number of residents living within the walking distance of the village centre, which I understand is considered planning people the ped shed, improve the sustainability of the village school, cafe, post office and the community as a whole, and potentially provide villa-style housing for elderly residents wishing to remain in the village. Next slide. A little bit of history. Penrose was actually originally 2 villages with 2 train stations, the Karela station and the Cable siding station. There was a paper subdivision to the north of the Cable siding station to increase housing density in the vicinity of that station. Early last century, the 2 stations were closed and merged into one at the current Penrose station location. A number of smaller lots were created along Penrose Road in the vicinity of the station. However, the immediate village centre remains surrounded by paddocks and vacant land. The number of houses within the ped shed of the village centre remains too low for a vibrant and sustainable village centre. In addition, the village school, which was originally the Karela primary school, is now separated from the Penrose village by several paddocks. The population of Penrose is currently dropping and is projected to drop further. The consideration of additional, more affordable housing in Penrose was one of the key components that came out of our Penrose Village Place Plan, created and supported by the Penrose community in late 2024 and earlier this year. I'll address bushfire because on reading some previous LEPs, it seems this may be the reason why we haven't seen more development in Penrose. All the southern villages are characterised as bushfire prone to various extents. However, we need a balanced approach to infill housing so Penrose can thrive. Penrose is a well-established village and its bushfire risk is manageable, as we saw during the 2019 and 20 bushfire season. The historic data from bushfires suggest Penrose is not at any more risk than neighbouring Wingellow or Bundanoon. Our community proposal is consistent with two deliverables within the operational plan under consideration today. 1.4.2, develop policy and make decisions that support a younger demographic. And 2.2.2, provide diverse and affordable housing options. The Penrose community requests that Council consider Penrose under items 1.4.2 and 2.2.2, allowing infill housing opportunities within the Penrose Village Centre. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Are there any questions? Councillor Russell.
I have a question for staff. Can I ask staff questions on this at this point?
Next we have Miles Lockett of Southern Highlands Water Polo is speaking against the recommendation in item 9.1, delivery, resourcing, financial strategy, operational plan budget, including fees and charges. Fire away.
Thank you, Mayor Jesse Fitzpatrick, Councillors, General Manager and Council staff for the opportunity to speak, and happy solstice. My name is Miles Lockett. I speak today wearing a few hats as co-patron, past president and life member of Southern Highlands Water Polo, and as an advocate for the Mittagong Swimming Club and the broader Mittagong Sporting Precinct. I'm here to speak to item 9.1, Delivery Program 25 to 29, particularly the submissions and resourcing strategy, which are significantly influenced by item 8.3 from the 21st of May council meeting. That's the last one, and that's the exhibition report, and all the councillors and the staff have a copy of my talk so they can refer to that if they need to. Council's resolutions at that meeting, following several amendments, marked a major change in direction for aquatic infrastructure in the Shire. This shift has serious implications for both the Mittagong and Barrel sites and the future planning of aquatics, indoor sport and destination play spaces. The history of aquatic facilities in this Shire is well documented across multiple reports and community submissions over the years. I won't revisit it in detail now, but it is important context for what follows. In relation to the prior strategy, Council's 2023 Community and Recreational Facilities Strategy, CRFS, outlined three strategic priorities. 1, a regional aquatic and leisure centre in the north of the Shire. 2, a new indoor recreational facility also located in the north. And 3 destination play spaces. These flowed into the 2024 Draft Aquatics Plan and Business Case, which went on public exhibition. However, the recommendations adopted last month reflect a 180-degree departure from that plan. Instead of a new regional aquatic centre at Mittagong, the new focus is now a renewal of Barrel Pool through master planning with only some regional inclusions. This seriously limits the opportunities for financial support from state and federal governments, plus developer contributions. Given this significant change in direction, it is both fair and necessary that the revised strategy be re-exhibited for proper community input. The previously exhibited plan no longer reflects the current approach. And the problem, which those of you that have been tuned into this would be well aware of. There's a shortage of aquatic facilities in the Shire, some in dire straits in terms of their status. The 2023 CRFS acknowledged this, and the 2024 Aquatics Plan proposed real solutions. Now, following the May meeting, we are effectively back to square one with no funded resolution, no clear timeline and growing uncertainty. With reference to CSP 2.3.1, DP 2 and 3 in today's agenda, I've quoted the pages for the attachments for the councillors to look at, and for any of the members of the public, they're page 139 and page 253 that are very relevant here. So moving forward, Mittagong Pool Rewilding Project and Master Plan. The Master Plan must be expanded to include the entire Mittagong Pool and Oval Precinct. Repurposing the pool offers an opportunity to preserve a significant community asset. We have qualified support for the concept and welcome the $110,000 allocated in 26-27 for design, though this appears to contradict CSP 2.3.1. I'd like somebody to explain how these work when there is a conflict. This will be a major and expensive project, and its success will rely on external funding, as noted in recommendations from last month. Any proposal involving swimming in creek water must include serious consideration of safety and environmental risks. Targeting project completion in 2031, in conjunction with the 100th anniversary of Mittagong Swimming Club and the original pool opening, it's a long time ago, would be a wonderful milestone for Council and the community to aim for. In relation to pools, Bundanoon and Barrel pools, because they're both in a similar state as far as Council's resolutions go, we're pleased to see that there's been a reversal of the previous closure threats, as it is qualified, of course. This outcome reflects the strength of the community advocacy, especially in Bundanoon. And the Frensham and Mossvale pools, both are at or near capacity. We support maximising access, but need to acknowledge their limitations. And finally, on to master planning for Mittagong and Barrel, we ask that the Mittagong pool / oval master plan be run in parallel with the Barrel pool master plan. These plans should take into account the findings from the 2024 Aquatics plan and business case, especially regarding regional opportunities. Master plans must be well-resourced, future-focused and community-led, not just patchwork upgrades. We strongly request a long overdue commitment to structured consultation. Let's finally bring all stakeholders to the table: sporting clubs, schools, accessibility groups and local residents. And in summary, unfortunately, genuine community consultation has too often been missing, particularly around key decisions that impact the long-term future of our aquatics and recreational infrastructure. Council has now made a significant pivot in its aquatic strategy, but without transparency and meaningful consultation, we risk repeating the mistakes of the past and further loss of community trust. So finally, it is time to reset the approach. This is from our perspective, of course. Sure, I'm doing that. Thanks, Jesse. Re-exhibit the revised strategy, genuinely engage with stakeholders, plan for the next 50 years, not just the next 5, and commit to a timely, sustainable solution for our community's ongoing aquatic needs. Thank you very much for this opportunity.
Thank you. Thank you very much for coming along today and contributing to our Shire. It's very much appreciated. I've got a couple of questions. Without a appropriate pool, how would the water polo fraternity be impacted?
We have been impacted for a number of years, 10 plus in fact. Going forward, only 5 years ago, before COVID, we had 10 senior teams as an example. We had 3 last year. For us to promote and to expand our sport, we need facilities. We have been very fortunate to be able to use Aquabliss at the Frensham pool, and it's part of their VPA anyway, but they've been very supportive as the school and Aquabliss, and we've been able to run our competitions there. We're limited to 2 nights. We can't start till 6:30. We sometimes finish at 9:30, and with the juniors that's not appropriate. We can't use Barrel pool for a number of reasons: too shallow, too narrow, and it's cold. We've been spoiled with an indoor facility for a long time now, and it's wonderful to have that full pool. So, in essence, our sport cannot expand, and I'm not talking only on behalf of water polo. Same goes for swimming. I was swimming at Aquabliss this morning. Every lane was full. I couldn't start till theoretically 8:30, and people were pouring in for lap swimming. They'd already finished the morning kids training. They're at capacity already. They can't fit too much more in. There's not too much more opportunity for lap swimming. And as we all know, the Mossvale facility is also at capacity. So part of the reason for our continuing advocacy here is to make sure that there's a decision made very soon, because the longer it takes to make a decision, and now if it goes to a master planning process that isn't funded, and that's why I'm talking in relation to 9.1 today. I couldn't see anywhere where there was money. The $110,000, for instance, is written somewhere, but it is not in the plan. It says unfunded. And so there's no, and that's 26, 27. So that means, and we nobly suggest that it could be finished by 2031 to celebrate the 100 years of Mittagong Swimming Club and the pool. So all of these things won't be possible under the current planning process, under the current procedures that are already in place and were confirmed last month. So an urgent need to change that from our perspective.
Thank you very much. I've got a follow-up question. Would you agree with the proposition that the feedback from the community on the regional aquatic business plan is not relevant to the Mittagong rewilding project?
Yeah, thank you for that question. There's a lot in this, and I've only got a minute, so I'll be quick. The aquatics plan, when it was put on exhibition, indicated to the community that Bundanoon Pool and Barrel Pool would close. That was pretty clear in the wording. Of course, the Bundanoon community, as they always do, I'll bring my water bottle up, does things well. And they did a tremendous job putting in submissions and advocating for protection of their asset. And I think the resolutions of last month's meeting were very good for Bundanoon in that regard. And it is up to Bundanoon community to continue that and to save their pool. I don't know why nobody turned up at the consultation session for Barrel, because Barrel was threatened as well. If there was to be a leisure centre built at Mittagong, an aquatic centre, and we always will stick to regional aquatic centre because of the benefits from federal, state funding and philanthropy, and also Section 94 contributions, or not 711 as it is now. But in essence, the results of the surveys were skewed towards Bundanoon, of course, and against a regional aquatic centre. So therefore, the outcome of the exhibition phase was, we better can the regional aquatic centre because it's going to crucify Bundanoon and Barrel, which shouldn't be the case and won't be the case, I'm sure.
Yes, one more question, thank you. Do you feel that Water Polo and indeed the community has been involved at all in the resolution for the Mittagong rewilding project?
Not in terms of the rewilding projects, and I welcome that. As I learnt to swim at Mittagong Pool, I love the place. It's got a long history, and it'll be great to see it preserved, but not as a pool. I totally agree with the premise that it can't be updated as a pool. It can be used in the meantime, I'm sure, as a pool, but not as far as aquatics, regional aquatics go. So the answer is no. It was very much a surprise to us to see the wonderful video that came out, and we, of course, we support it. It's a great project. It's going to start the ball rolling, I presume, in 26, 27. It's subject to external funding, which means it's a bit like the Mittagong Playhouse. It will happen if there's funds coming in place. But the main issue for us, continuing to come to council, is that we haven't been appropriately consulted as a community, not just the aquatics community, but all the community. And wait till you see the result when the indoor sports report comes to council from the other sports, and cricket's one of them. Because of the lack of communication there. It has to happen now with the appropriate people around the table speaking sincerely and openly to the decision makers, both you as a council. I know you've only been here for 6 or 7 months now, but so that's a new part of this equation, but we need to speak to staff, councillors, and get real dialogue happening to make sure there's a sustainable long-term solution.
Good afternoon, Mr Mayor, councillors and staff. My name is Mark Pepping and I'm a practising town planning consultant, former employee of Wingecarribee Shire Council spanning 16 years and remain a resident of the Shire and have done so for over 20 years. I speak in favour of the recommendation of the report to revoke the former employees dealing with council policy. The report states that this policy was adopted in December 2022 to ensure transparency in council's dealings with former staff, particularly those where those individuals are later engaged as consultants in development matters. The report also states that while well-intentioned, the policy's definition of a former employee is as someone employed within the 3 years preceding the policy's adoption has proven unnecessarily restrictive and difficult to apply over time. I'm not surprised, pardon me, I'm not surprised with the statement that the policy has proven unnecessarily restrictive and difficult to apply over the time because it was totally reactionary. However, I find it difficult to agree that it was well-intentioned and would suggest to the contrary. I believe the policy's introduction was laced with malice and primarily the intention by one person wanting power to have control on the ability of former staff to continue their profession outside of council. It was said in public that town planning consultants are no more than lobbyists. The staff conclude that a review of the policy confirmed that the objectives of the policy are already covered through stronger and more enduring governance instruments, including Council's Code of Conduct, notwithstanding the specific clauses 3.15 and 3.16 under the Council Code of Conduct do not actually feature in the Office of Local Government's Model Code of Conduct. More importantly, where there is misconduct or maladministration of a council staff member in executing their roles and responsibilities, there are bodies such as the Independent Commission Against Corruption or the New South Wales Ombudsman's Office to report such matters, which is significantly more equipped to handle and investigate such matters. Having served my 3-year embargo well and truly, but under personal and professional strain, I might add, I am by definition no longer subjected to the policy or the inclusion of similar restrictions in current policies in any case. However, as a ratepayer, it concerns me greatly the cost that has been incurred by council and in turn ratepayers, and which will continue to be incurred by the need to outsource such development applications made by former staff employees to external town planning consultancies since the introduction of the subject policy, and which is now included in the Code of Conduct. Regrettably, and notwithstanding the current Council's admirable attempts to improve Council's performance with the processing of development applications, it is a reality that the past decisions by Council whilst under administration has cost Council and in turn the ratepayers dearly in terms of financial and performance outcomes, and will continue to do so. Thank you.
Point 8, farmland policy.
Oh, sorry. There we go. Thank you. Thank you for allowing me to speak. I'm speaking on behalf of the thoroughbred equine industry, and I'm speaking for the policy. And I just want to introduce myself as Greg Bennett. I'm a newcomer to the area. I've been here for 2 years, and I've been brought to the Highlands to operate 2 properties at Exeter and Wood Park that are leading horse developments in the area, and we want to continue to be part of the elite equine area of the Wingecarribee Shire. We're very grateful for the work of the Council have done to revisit this policy, and in particular the Mayor, Nicole Smith, and Councillor Sarah Moylan. I appreciate having the Executive recognise the importance of including local industry participants when writing policy in the future, which I believe has been a practice over the last 3 years. And I think the equine industry can offer a lot of economic benefit to the area, largely in the way that we operate our properties. We all need acreage. We need to look after the pastures. We are developing green space, which is basically planting lots of trees, lots of hedges, gardens, and maintaining very, very clean and open, healthy paddocks. On a per hectare basis, the thoroughbred industry can return a lot of value to the participants, as in a little bit of difference to sheep and cattle and other small farm, because the value of thoroughbred horses in particular now is climbing and climbing, much against the general economic environment. We constantly have horses on the property valued in excess of 15 to 20 million all the time. We have individual horses valued at over $1 million and up to $4.5 million. So we have a lot of responsibility to the owners to look after those animals, and that means maintaining good quality large acreage. And I feel that the increase in taxes and rates is going to very much deter people from investing in the area down here, which is a shame because it's a beautiful area, its location's perfect. We're dealing with high-end Sydney, Melbourne owners, trainers, as well as a lot of clients from Hong Kong, the UK and the United States of America. And all these people come to visit the Highlands regularly to see their product, their horses, and while they're here they maintain that it is a beautiful area and they spend money while they're here. We employ about 30 people through the two properties, which is not a great deal, but when you combine that with all the other large thoroughbred equine facilities, e.g. Bong Bong, China Horse Club, Millburn Creek, Silverdale Farm, The Chase, there's hundreds and hundreds of people that are employed. Most of them are young people, which we're all encouraging to become career participants, because this area lends itself to be the next great thoroughbred breeding and training facility. And if people are discouraged to come here because of those ever-increasing rates, they will leave. They'll go somewhere else. They'll go to Scone. They'll go to Victoria. They will bypass this place, which is a tragedy because its location is perfect and it's a lovely place to live. We spend a lot of money in the area. We're individually probably the Bowral Co-op's biggest equine client. We spend in excess of $20,000 there a month just in that business alone. So we want to continue to grow, but if things change dramatically, then we won't be doing that because we won't be buying more land or leasing more land to do it. And we need to do that to keep up with the ever-increasing need for us to service this industry. The racing industry and the thoroughbred industry in Australia is a huge employer. So the other thing that I would like to make point of is that we break in thoroughbred dealings, we spell thoroughbred horses, we do a lot of rehab. So through that we work very closely with a number of veterinary practitioners around here. So we also support dentists, farriers, feed merchants, fencing contractors, because the cost of fencing down here is through the roof, but it's a necessity and we need to continue to support those contractors. As an entire group, I feel that the thoroughbred industry would like to...
Sorry, I'll just get you to wrap up in the next 30 seconds if you can. All good.
I just want to encourage investment in the area, not discourage it by raising things through the roof and making it impossible. Thank you.
Thank you very much for speaking. Are there any questions? Councillor Russell.
Thank you, Mr. Bennett. Have you had a look at the different rates that you will now be eligible for if we adopt the policy of including equine in farmland rating?
I haven't seen them personally because I was only thrown into this position yesterday afternoon. I would like to look at them, but I am led to believe that there is going to be a substantial rise.
Sorry, by substantial rise, do you mean that you will benefit financially from having the equine industry will be financially better off from having being adopted under the farmland rating?
I feel that by if we get the policy across where we are able to consult with council on the policy, that we will benefit because we'll be encouraging more investment in the area.
Sorry. Do you think that equine, knowing that the people who invest in equine and have the privilege of investing in equine deserve a rate cut over and above any other business that might be struggling to get by from perhaps lower socio-economic backgrounds in the Wingecarribee, particularly as you're talking about investors that are overseas?
As I said, I feel that what the industry can give back to the Shire as a whole can pressure the extra costs that we would have to burden ourselves with. And mind you, I'm on a wage. I'm not paying the rates, and I'm not paying the rates. But I'm certainly part of it. And if the industry falls on lean times because of that, then there'll be a lot of people losing their jobs, and there'll be a lot of financial benefit to the area become null and void.
In item 9.8, farmland policy for adoption.
Thank you. Just like to thank everyone for having me. I wear two hats. My name is Brett Parbury. I'm an Australian representative in equestrian, and also I'm a property valuer. And I'm just here to, first of all, thank the council for including equine into the farmland policy. And I'm just here to express the significance of equine in this area. So basically, with my equine hat on, this area lends itself, and Greg, I'll echo Greg's sentiments here, this lends itself location-wise to being a significant equine area in Australia from a high-performance perspective. There's an Olympic Games in this country in 2032, and we have no high-performance centre. And if we can get in front of the game, and already this area is significant, we are probably the strongest area in the sport of dressage. If we can view this area as a significant equine area in the future development, I do see equine as being the last wall of resistance to future splitting up of large holdings and the housing that's spreading through the area. So for me, equine is significant. With my valuing hat on, and through the equine, the stakeholders group, this equine to this area contributes about $100 million a year in service provision. There's about $400 million a year in fencing and contractor work, and I calculated about $1 billion worth of assets held in equine hands in the area. So it's a significant investment in the area. So I just would like to ask council, when looking at equine in the farmland policy, if you could have a think about the location, the significance of the area, and the fact that, from a perspective of business and local economy, what it contributes to the area is very significant.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
To press your button. Thank you. It might seem unrelated, but it is. Did you have an opportunity, because this was in the agenda, to cast your eye over council's financials in our long-term financial plan and operational plan and budget?
No, I haven't, but I'd like to see that. I'd love to see that there is some investment in there for equine purposes. That would be.
I'm just wondering if the equine industry has considered council's financial position when asking for this cut, in the knowledge that I'm asking if they have considered, in the knowledge that any money that is taken out of council's budget that could look after, say, roads for your horses to travel on will actually help determine whether people invest in the area, because their horse carts may not travel safely on our roads.
It's just not a significant rate increase, so, but, yeah. You don't have to answer the question.
I wouldn't mind. Thanks for bringing that up. But I also think that the green between that we all talk about, the green between that is provided by the equine investors in the area, and the amount that we contribute back into the community, I think that would outstrip the contribution that council makes to roads, and what we contribute back into the economy, I think is significant, given the numbers I just spoke to you about, 100 million, 400 million and $1 billion worth of assets. And if you think about the rates and the calculation of that coming back into, I think it's significant.
Oh, thank you, Ms. Thank you, Mr. Polbury, for coming along today and for contributing. Would you say, in your opinion, that we've only just scratched the surface in terms of the economic contribution that equine can offer to this area?
Yeah, I do. I do believe the significance within Australia that the Southern Highlands poses to the future of our equine sports is we underestimate that. We overestimate our contribution as we stand, and I think we underestimate the future contribution from a location perspective. I can only speak of other countries like the US and England and Germany, where I have to travel a lot. The concentration of high performance into cities like Lexington, Wellington, Florida, Warendorf, Germany, New Farm in England. Once you get a concentration into area, you get significant investment, and then with that investment comes the high-performing people, like the people with money, you know, and they then come in and they buy and they spend money and they contribute a lot, and then the overall amenity of an area lifts. And I just want to stay sort of on that last, where equine is the last barrier to the further development of the area into more housing and smaller blocks and less productivity and more weed control and the likes.
Staff, thank you very much for allowing me to speak. My name's Sarah Keynes. I've been a resident of Wingecarribee since 1985, and I'm a horticulturalist. The Wingecarribee tree strategy leaves our local community in a state of contradiction. The voice of our young people has been researched by community groups. Surveys tell that, together with so many of our adult community members, their main concern is climate change and loss of biodiversity. Tree planting is integral to success in addressing these issues, but the current model of plantings in public spaces is, in too many instances, failing. Necessary changes towards rebuilding a vital natural landscape are essential to success. In our schoolrooms, children are taught science and the imperative to enrich natural ecosystems. Great numbers of our adult citizens are active in bush regeneration and river care, in counting birds and nurturing natural habitat for turtles and platypus and koalas. But when we look at our civic spaces, and when those kids come outside, they see that contradiction. What they see is not a concerted effort to restore a healthy natural landscape, but rather ongoing projects that continue to reinforce the changed landscape, a landscape that celebrates faraway places. It's noticeable that there is not one local park or garden dedicated to the display, nurture and study of our local flora. We need a place where we can test new steps and learn about possibilities provided by native trees and shrubs. There are so many useful projects that could be run to enrich our community and teach future generations if we had such a space. There is an ongoing problem with unsuitable plant choices being made for council. Skills such as tree advice are still being outsourced to other districts, which causes mistakes to be made. There is local knowledge available. Let's use it. For projects such as the Bongbong Common planting, hugely expensive mature exotic conifers were chosen in preference to a plan of natives put together by skilled volunteers. The plan was for a model windbreak planting using native plants, a planting that would help to educate community about how to plant a shelter belt whilst performing the work of protecting that lovely new community parkland, plus enhancing habitat. Sadly, those chosen exotic trees are unsuitable for the soils where they were planted and the flooding that occurs there in that riverside position. After a short time, they're already dead and dying. Clearly, there is a place for exotics in some situations. I'm not suggesting that all the plantings of old favourite exotics should be removed from parks and gardens. I know how precious the Cherry Tree Memorial Walk is in Bowral. Sections of it have thrived and bring delight to all who walk there. But from a horticultural point of view, the 90, I think it is, very expensive mature trees that have been planted where successions of previous same species trees have died are at risk of failing. Planting trees is not like painting pictures. You can't just put a tree where you want it to grow and expect it to thrive. The first point of consideration with tree planting is to look at what it will be growing in. We have to stop fighting against soil and the climate and decide to work with them. But by continually choosing what we want rather than what we need, we will continue to fail and we will continue to bleed money. At last year's community forum organised to address the issue of dying trees in the Highlands, we were told by Professor Brett Summerall that there are soil pathogens active in much of our soil and that the local native plants are the most likely to succeed and to overcome these problems. By ignoring this advice, we're setting ourselves up to fail. We're actively reinforcing an outdated story and we're failing future generations. We can no longer afford to travel this path. It's time to change the model. Of course, there will be those who criticise. Change is always confronting. But by the power of strong leadership and good work, we can change the way doubters in our community see and value a true local landscape. I request that steps be taken to address the problems I've described here and the contradictions that tree planting is presenting in our community. Thank you very much.
Thank you for that. So would you be willing to, this will, if we pass this today, go on to public exhibition, would you and the people behind you be willing to provide comment during that process? One more question. Can I also ask, do you feel there's a really engaged community who, if given the opportunity, would get more involved around?
Yes, definitely, because they're already involved. We've done a lot of work, yes. There are people. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr Mayor, councillors, members of staff, for the opportunity to talk to you or to address you here today. Firstly, I'd like to thank Councillor Russell. That's it. Sorry, Rachel. I'd like to thank Councillor Russell for having the courage of the convictions and honouring her commitment to be the voice of the community which councillors represent by bringing this forward for consideration to council today. I'd also like to acknowledge, because this is on the public record, the assistance that we've been given by our local member, Miss Judy Hannon from MP, who has been absolutely fantastic and has given us every opportunity to, or has given us every opportunity to assist us in this whole process. In stark contrast, she has not been ambivalent to what this issue is, and she has taken the time to visit and talk to everybody concerned about the issues and then take forth those issues to State Parliament. I'd also like, at the risk of embarrassing Councillor Moylan, I'd like to thank also her husband Paddy, that prior to the last federal election and subsequent to the federal election has also been very supportive of what it is that we're trying to achieve. The issue that brings the notice of motion to you today is in relation to blocks 21 to 27 Phillip Street, Burradoo. This all started with the receipt of in December of last year, of a complying development application for the establishment of a group home on block 27.
what has come to pass, and I'm taking into account now that the submission that I sent to each council has been read, so I'm going to gloss over a few details because obviously it's time sensitive. But the CDC application was based on the establishment of a group home under the state environmental planning policy. What has come to pass is that what was and what is intended to be put there on 27 Phillip Street is anything but a group home. It is a commercial high-end facility to cater for seniors, as what they will be called, what they are going to call seniors social assisted living. It was never going to be a group home, and I just refer to the definition of a group home here from the SEP. Group homes are to provide temporary and permanent permanent accommodation for people with a disability or people that are socially disadvantaged. It's come to pass that in this proposed facility for 27 Phillip Street Burradoo, that it will be a high-end facility targeting the more affluent members of the senior community, where there'll be 7 rooms in this establishment and an eye-watering $1.8 or thereabout million for each individual room. So if that comes under the definition of a group home in accordance with the SEP, then I'll give it away. It was never ever going to be a group home, and that was confirmed by the owner or the developer and the previous owner of 27 and still the current owner of blocks 21 to 25. What has happened here is the applicant has utilised the provisions of SEP to use the term group home, knowing full well so that they could avoid the process of proper approvals. What's planned for 21 to 25 at the rear will be an extension ultimately of that aged care facility. What we want is that council can bring this to a conclusion by changing the current R5 zoning by removing group homes from that R5 zoning list of what is permissible. Other councils, interestingly, neighbouring councils, all exclude group homes from R5 zoning, either explicitly or in general terms. So any suggestion that the council's hands are the council is hamstrung and not able to make these changes to avoid this situation becoming even worse is farcical.
So you just need to, oh, I've got it, great. Thank you for coming and talking, and I can only imagine how your community's feeling. Firstly, I want to ask, with the complying development proposal, were you given any opportunity to submit any local knowledge into the process of approval?
The tenor of the letter you received from, when we received not one but 2 letters from private certifiers, one mysteriously dropped off after a month, and you can read into that what you will, given what I've just said to you. But the current certifier, both letters, the tenor of both letters is, this is what's happening. You can put in or ask questions or put in your objections, but basically because it's a complying development application, it will more likely than not proceed. And that's obviously the object of the exercise in the first place, to avoid a proper scrutinised process.
Are there any issues that you've become aware of watching what's happened at that site, because local knowledge hasn't been able to be included in the process of a complying development certificate?
Work, when the sale went through of 27, work took place in earnest to gut it, and then around Australia Day of this year, work all ceased. Out the back, there are extensive in blocks 21 to 25, which will be purchased by the owner of 27 when the current DA at council has been finalised and the earthworks have been finalised, are being undertaken to reclaim land for the sake of facilitating two one-acre block subdivision down there and to redirect water flow. What was a natural water course that blended into the natural landscape now resembles something like an open cut mine. And I don't know, I've invited each of the councillors to go and have a look for themselves and to be aghast at what they see, just as the local member was when she came and saw what was happening there. It is totally disproportionate to what was previously the case.
Are there any other issues that you've witnessed on the site which are questionable since it's been a complying development situation?
It's clear that what's taking place here is, and I refer to a report, and I'm not aware whether councillors are aware of it, but back in, and if I can just refer to these notes here, what was a report conducted in 2021-22, which proposes a number of amendments to the current SEP. But what was disclosed in that is that the very facility that they are creating is earmarked to be brought into being as part of those changes, those recommendations. So what started off as a group home, work all of a sudden stopped, and it's quite clear now that the reason why it stopped is it was never going to be a group home, but in the knowledge that if these recommendations come to pass, and I'm quite sure they will, that senior social assisted living will become a reality and replace the current definition of group homes.
Thank you, Mr. Hammond, for coming along today and sharing your frustrations. How many residents would you say are uprising because of this?
Well, you've got Phillip Street, you've got Elizabeth Street, you've got St James Close, you've got people in Hurlingham Avenue. It's seen as the thin edge of the wedge. If this is allowed to go through unvetted, we may not be able to do anything about 27, but certainly there is an opportunity for council to step in and stop this proposal being expanded to cover blocks 21 to 25. The issue is that, and I'm quite aware of public accountability and what comes with public office, and I'm quite aware of the responsibilities in terms of discharging your duties and responsibilities. What we want council to do is to do their due diligence and make sure that when they make a decision on this motion, and I understand there's conflicting advice to council where staff have given certain advice and advice provided by the local member from the State Office of State Planning conflict. Before any decision is made, council are duty-bound and obliged to do their due diligence and seek a definitive answer from the Office of the State Planning and Public Spaces to determine whose advice is the correct advice and then make a decision on this motion accordingly. Because if it's good enough for all the neighbouring local government areas to exclude group homes to stop this same situation occurring, it is good enough for the Wingecarribee Council to honour their commitment to the community and be the voice of the community and not find excuses to not do something instead of doing something.
Thank you, Ken. Thank you. Okay, we have a bit of a technical issue with our mic.